Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm Rhia Trogo-Pantola, an associate partner in IBM. I lead the Weather, Climate, and Sustainability Center of Competency Solution Delivery. So today I'll be sharing with you sustainability projects that we have done, two of which are under IBM CSR's Sustainability Accelerator Program. And for those, we had two cohorts, one in India and one in Malawi. And another project, it's a commercial project with Yara. So these three projects are all under sustainable agriculture in the hopes that our the way we do agriculture will be more sustainable, addressing first of all smallholder farmers, and second, prioritizing the impact of agriculture to the environment. So let's begin. So this project in India was actually done in partnership with the Nature Conservancy, with the hopes that we will be able to bring down carbon emissions brought about by crop residue burning. So farmers tend to perform crop residue burning because of number one, well, because there are crops that require the fields to be cleared first before they can start planting crops like wheat, rice, sugarcane, pineapple. So there are many different crops. And the reason why farmers tend to burn their crop residue are mainly three reasons. There are more than three, but these are the three main three main reasons that are factors. Number one, they don't have enough manpower and resources to clear the land. And number two, it's more economical for them, and usually there's just a small window for them to do this. So a small window to clear the land, and then they have to plant again. And then third, they don't know what to do with the crop residue that they have cleared from their fields after they cut them. So because of these three issues, they resort to burning their crop residue. And this causes a lot of pollution. In fact, there's a study, and this was published in ADB as well, that from 2003 to 2019, there have been 42,000 to 98,000 premature deaths annually, and they have associated these deaths to the pollution brought on by crop residue burning. In India, there is 140 million tons of crop residue that is burnt every year in preparation for the next cropping season. Majority of these crops would be rice, wheat, and sugarcane. And just in the northwestern area in India, there are 2.5 million farmers of wheat and rice. And India is not the only country that is being affected by crop residue burning. There are also other Asian countries such as Thailand and Indonesia, and there are others more that are affected by crop residue burning. So this solution will not only be beneficial to India, but also across geographies once this is taken up by many farmers in India. So the solution that the government came up with is producing and availing equipment that will help the farmers clear their land, gather the crop residue, and also this can be used for sowing as well. You can see that tractor. This is called the Happy Seeder tractor, one of the crop residue management machines. And India purchased 200,000 units of these machines in 2022. And still, many farmers opt to burn their crops, mainly because there are papers that were published stating that farmers still prefer to burn their crops because that is what they have become accustomed to. And number two, they do not know how this can possibly affect their bottom line and how this can affect their productivity. So for this project, we tried to address that kind of idea that they have, so that we are also allowing farmers to learn from their fellow farmers, and the farmers who have been using the crop residue management machines to be able to share their own experiences so that they are able to convince the other farmers who have not yet used these crop residue management machines. So I will be showing you later on what this solution looks like. At the bottom, you can see there's an app there. This can be viewed using mobile phones, and they'll be able, through this mobile phone, they'll be able to connect to different resources, which I will share with you in a while, in a bit. And then to its right, there's also a dashboard. It's not really specifically targeting the farmers, but rather targeting the decision makers, the NGOs, so that they're able to see the impact of the help that they're providing to the farmers. If there's a decrease in the fire counts, the intensity of the fires that are also created by the farmers. So let me just go ahead and share with you the different resources that farmers can see using the app. So firstly, we would like to connect the farmers to the machine providers and the maintenance providers. So what are machine providers? Machine providers can be fellow farmers who have purchased or have been awarded machines by the government, and they're able to rent these machines out to fellow farmers who are in need of these equipment. Number two, these are maintenance providers, because the machines eventually will need service. The maintenance providers are able to do that. So these farmers can possibly be farmers seeking for machines, or farmers who own their own machines and would like to seek maintenance support. Something also that we had to factor in was the willingness of the farmers to engage in transactions online. So while the farmers use smartphones and they are willing to watch videos on their phones and other contents on social media, they were not very confident to perform online transactions like renting machines online or reserving machines online. So instead of allowing these kinds of transactions, what the app does is to provide contact information to farmers who would like to rent out machines, uh, and the contact information of those who are renting out their machines. So for them, this approach is better and more user friendly. Aside from the machines, it's important, as I mentioned earlier, for them to connect to their peers, because they will listen more to their peers rather than other people um, around them, because they know that their peers understand their pain points, understand their worries and their priorities. So we have these farmers who are making use of CRM machines, and they're able to share their testimonials on the app, and these farmers are able to view the videos. So if they're not yet ready to dive in and use the machines right away, at least they're able to get an idea of how other farmers are able to use the CRM machines and whether it's beneficial for them. And if they have challenges, these farmers are able to share with them the challenges and how to overcome them. Aside from the farmers, they also have access to research materials and other educational materials, and also agriculture experts. So the irony of burning crop residue is that the fertility of the soil declines. The nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium content of the soil goes down. There are multiple publications explaining that. And this might not be known to the farmers, so they have access to experts that will help them understand what the impact of crop residue burning is to their bottom line. And then they also have access to chat. So they can chat with experts, fellow farmers. There's live chat where there can be sessions in the live sessions in the chat, so the experts can join and they can speak with them. And then there's also a way for them to share questions asynchronously, and then farmers and also experts are able to answer these questions. And there's also a forum where they can post questions relevant to the topic that has been created. And then, so there were three pain points that I have shared earlier. Number one, they do not have enough resources to clear their farm, and the tractor will take care of that. They have a small window of clearing their land, and the tractor should be able to help them with that as well. And then number three, they don't know what to do with the crop residue that they have already extracted from their land. And that is why we're connecting them with XC2 plants. So XC2 plants, some of them are biofuel plants, which will try and convert all these crop residue that came from their farms into fuel. Uh, XC2 plants can also be fertilizer companies that can turn their crop residue into fertilizer. So they are, and also feeds. Some crop residue can also become feeds for livestock. So these are companies that will help them manage their crop residue. And then finally, although the target really for this are not farmers, this is still viewable for them, so they can understand how they're doing against other villages, blocks, districts in terms of fire counts and fire radiative power, or how intense the fires are in their area. There's also, so this particular feature can be viewed by experts, NGOs, and also government decision makers, so that they're able to target better areas that they should be helping. So areas with increased fire counts, for example, so that they can lower that down. So I will now share with you, just share with you the app first. Just log in. So this app also supports multiple languages. It's available in Punjabi, Hindi, and English. It's available in Punjabi because in Punjab there are many farmers. Let me just say this into English first. So this is the map that they can see. The numbers here indicate the number of resources in that area. So we can just have, for example, look at the number of farmers that are available. So these are all the farmers who have registered in the system. And when you click it, you'll be able to see the contact information of the farmers, which I will not do because this is sensitive information. Let me just go to services. So you can see the different services that are available to the user. So this is my current location. So this would now, when you click this will sort all of the different machine providers available to them, sorted according to the nearest machine provider to them. And then they'll be able to have the contact information of the people who can share with them, people like farmers and cooperatives who can rent them the equipment that they can use. So there are various equipment. So this also lists the different equipments that are available for them to rent out. And then we have the agriculture expert. We also have their fellow farmers, the XC2 power plant contact information as well, and also the agriculture extension office in case they need support from them financially, or even expertise, for example, or extension service, then they should be able to provide that. We also have a list of soil testing centers because, as mentioned, burning crops or burning crop residue can affect the health of the soil. So in case they would like to look at how they can fix the state of their soil, they can go to the soil testing centers. And here are other other features that are available to them. So sorry, let me just go back here. They also have programs and schemes available to them so that they are able to apply for subsidies. And we also have announcements so they can see what available opportunities there are for them, or if there are events that they can attend. So they are listed here. And then, as I mentioned earlier, there are testimonials that they can read about. They also have different research materials available to them, and they're able to chat with experts. So this is the app. And then part of the app are the reports. So the report is actually implemented in Tableau. And this is Tableau Public to lower the cost, because the ownership of this solution has been given to uh, the Nature Conservancy India already. So here, the government decision makers, NGOs are able to see how the different states, districts, blocks, and villages are performing in terms of fire count. So this is important for them if they wanted to measure the impact of the extension work and service that they're providing to the farmers. If they would like to see how effective their programs are. And they can also, through this, they can also identify areas that they should prioritize to lessen the emissions. So in some of the publications, it has been mentioned that this is an urgent concern because of the amount of carbon emission that is generated by crop residue burning. So you can also see here the FRP and fire count change trend. So it's easier for the decision makers to see whether it's improving or it's worsening. Like in the case of Amritsar, it's actually improving over the years from 2019 to 2020 to 2022. And in the case of Ajnala, it has worsened over the years from 2017 to 2022. So in this way, they're able to easily see what is happening to these areas and how they can be of help. So in case you're wondering, the data that has been used here has been obtained in cooperation with India government, as well as different satellite satellite data providers. So we also have the main dashboard, where you can see here the fire count change across India. And you can see this by district, sub-district, and village across the years. Here you can also see, for example, given a certain district, you'll be able to see who the biggest, or which sub-district, for example, is the biggest contributor, or which village, even down to the village level. You'll be able to see the village that's the biggest contributor, and then the decision makers are able to better understand and really visit Ramgar, for example, and try to understand what intervention can be done so that Ramgar can be assisted in lessening the crop residue burning. Okay, so other features are top 2,500 villages, for example. You can see here Ramgar. It has been identified earlier as one of the top contributors, and you'll be able to see here the breakdown, for example, across sub-district, village, etc., and the different fire counts. You'll be able to see also best controlled fire count. The good thing about this is because you know which areas are improving, you'll be able to identify what the best practices are, or what programs have been implemented in these areas so that they can be replicated in areas like Ramgar, for example, that are not doing so well. And then it's the same with FRP. So the difference here is the fire count counts number of fires. FRP computes how bad or how big the fires are. And then you can also, for example, see burned areas. So this is the dashboard for government officials. Let's go back to this presentation. And we'll move on to our next cohort in Malawi. So in Malawi, we work together with Heifer Labs, and the goal of Heifer Labs is not crop residue burning management, but rather to help the smallholder farmers that are greatly impacted by climate change. Because of climate change, we're no longer able to easily predict when it's going to rain. Like here in the Philippines, normally around May, we have the first rain, uh, first week of May. But now it has gotten delayed, and the amount of rain has become torrential, but less frequent. So the weather patterns have definitely been altered. And because of this, traditions of farmers, like the usual way of doing things, no longer apply. And still in Malawi, many of them rely on traditional practices. And this really costs them. And because they're smallholder farmers, this greatly impacts their production. So here we can see that they are planting groundnuts. This is one of the major crops in Malawi, primarily because groundnuts is a good source for protein, and the stalks, the leaves of this plant can be fed to livestock. So clearly, crop residue is not that much of an issue in Malawi, but rather really producing much yield. So because of the issue of climate change, Heifer Labs and IBM work together so that we're able to provide the farmers not only hyperlocal weather forecasts. When we say hyperlocal, it's forecast specific to the farm of the farmer. So it's not just weather forecast for a big area, but it's really the forecast for a specific farm. And this way, they're able to better assess when they will perform certain activities, like when to apply fertilizer, herbicides, or when to even start sowing. Aside from that, Heifer also wanted farmers to follow best practices. So we worked with agronomists to be able to identify best practices for planting groundnuts. For example, double row planting, and also building ridges so that the soil will not erode. So these practices, we will call them recommendations. So we would like to recommend to farmers what they need to do to increase their yield. Of course, again, this can be met with resistance. So to persuade the farmers to participate in this effort, Heifer Labs created a program that allows the farmers to gain rewards whenever they follow recommendations. So this is actually a co-creation really with Heifer Labs. Initially, the plan was to make use of satellite so that we will know the crop stages and we'll know what recommendations to provide to the farmers. However, because of the size of the groundnuts and also the resolution of the satellite images, uh, the the solution was to take photos. So the farms of these farmers will be photographed by extension workers or community facilitators, and these photos will then be verified by experts whether they have been correctly executed or not. And then if they are correctly executed, the farmers will then get rewards, which can be used as loan discount. So this way, farmers are more motivated and incentivized in participating in the program. So for the pilot, there are 200 smallholder groundnut farmers who participated, and the direct beneficiaries will be around 1,000. And the target for smallholder farmers actually 1,500 groundnut farmers. Let me share with you how the solution works. So we have two versions of the app. We have the app for the community facilitator. The community facilitator is the one who takes the photos. There's another version of the app that it's not really another version, but another user of the app which is the expert who will then be able to view the photos and then are able to vote whether the execution of the recommendation is correct or not. And then there's also the web version that is meant for the administrator. So the administrator is going to check, for example, if the program is doing well, if there are community facilitators who require help, assistance because they're not able to help as many farmers as they can. So that is the purpose of the Open Harvest Web. You might be wondering why there's no mention of the farmers. So again, we were met with, we had to consider the preferred means of the farmers in getting the recommendations. So in Malawi, they prefer to use feature phones. So when we say feature phones, these are not smartphones. So phones that receive SMS messages. So the recommendations will be sent to them via SMS messages. So for this solution, because we had to provide hyperlocal weather data, we had to use the Environment Intelligence Suite weather data of IBM. So this is accurate. In the earlier session today, I don't know if you were able to attend the Nairobi session. It was mentioned that weather forecast is very important. So this weather forecast is accurate, has been declared to be accurate for it's a top weather forecast forecaster. It has been declared to be the best forecaster in the world for the last N years. So for many years now, this is the best forecaster. So if you've heard of the weather company, that's where the data is coming from. So this is using more than 250,000 personal weather stations. There are 178 forecast models. To put this into context, in the Philippines, you have around 5 forecast models that are being used. So this is 178, and essentially each model will have different weights depending on where you are in your region, so that it factors in the accuracy for that region. This is also collecting data from flights and also collecting data from smartphones. So this has 100 times greater coverage. It is precise, and that's how we can afford to provide hyperlocal weather forecasts to farmers. As I mentioned, this has been rated #1 in terms of accuracy by Forecast Watch. And then there's also a refresh of every 15 minutes. So every 15 minutes, there's a new forecast that comes in. And this is for the next 6 hours. And then after that, it's an hourly forecast for the next 15 days. But the refresh or the refresh of these forecasts comes in every 15 minutes. So for SMS recommendations, we make use of, again, hyperlocal weather data together with agronomy information provided by agriculture experts. And then we also looked at the soil moisture as well as the minerals and the fertility of the soil. So for the fertility of the soil, there was a soil test that was conducted by Heifer Labs, and that was ingested into the system. And together, all these three will provide the recommendation to the farmer through an SMS. And the farmer will then execute the recommendation. Now, once they execute the recommendation, they will send again an SMS message to say that I have done the recommendation. Once they have texted that, or they have sent an SMS indicating that they are done with the recommendation, our community facilitator will then see it on their app, and then they can go and visit the farm or the field of the farmer, and they can take the photos. Now, once these photos are taken, our experts will then check the photos whether they have been correctly executed or not. To ensure that there are no biases, or to minimize the biases, we will have 5 people score one photo, and We will then use consensus to decide whether this photo was correctly executed or not. And if it's correctly executed, the farmer will then get the reward points that can later on be used as loan discounts. So this is how Heifer Labs is persuading the farmers to follow the recommendations and veer away from the traditional farming practices because they are no longer effective due to climate change. So this is the app of the extension worker or the community facilitator. So the community facilitator will have a view of the tasks that he will be doing for the day. So this indicates, don't worry, this is mock data. So this indicates the field and the tasks and whether the tasks have been done or not yet done. So if it's not yet done, the community facilitator can follow it up with the farmer. But if it is done already, the community facilitator can then go to the field and take the photos. Just to show. So here you can see the field details. So once the user clicks on a particular field, you will then be able to see the field on a map and be able to see the different recommendations for that field. The red bar underneath that pin drop indicates the number of tasks that are still pending. So if it's still red, then that means that has not been completed yet. This shows you how many tasks are for checking, how many tasks are for verification, meaning for scoring of the experts, and how many have not yet been done, and how many have been verified. So a task that has been verified means that the expert has already provided the score. Now, the statistics is for the community facilitator. This will allow Heifer Labs management to identify whether a community facilitator requires help. For example, a good photo would mean that it's clear and that it has the correct composition. It was able to capture the details that are needed by our experts to assess whether a recommendation was correctly done or not. And bad photos mean that these are photos that require a retake, meaning not enough information has been captured in the photo and the experts are not able to properly assess whether a recommendation was done correctly or not. And then each community facilitator is able to plan his day. So this is the map, the calendar rather, and he's able to identify which fields he will be visiting for the day. So he's able to see the map so that he can plan the area that he will visit for the day and which fields he will be able to cover. So here you can see there are four. That means there are four fields in that area. And he can also switch the order of his destination so that he can change his plans as needed. And these are some of the recommendations like use double row planting, build box ridges. There will also be sample images that are provided to community facilitators so that they know what the photo composition should look like and how they can take the photos. So for each field, there are five photos that will be taken so that all the areas of the fields can be sampled. So the center, south, north, east, west part of the field will be taken. Okay, so let's move on to our last case study. This is for Yara. So it says Norway because Yara is based in Norway, but the project was actually also for India. So there are actually in India, there are more than 10 million hectares of arable farmland, and there are more than 3 million farmers. In the past years that Yara has been in contact with. So 20% actually of people who are advised about the condition of the the weather, for example, if it's going to rain or not, end up saving water. So there's 20% savings in water uh, when you advise them. So the goal of Yara is actually to provide, again, recommendations for farmers, but at a large scale. So here, the idea is that Yara will be providing recommendations through their app to the farmers. So our team just helped with the development of the APIs. So for example, given a zip code, so this is a large scale recommendation. It's not as hyper local as the one that we did with Malawi. But essentially, you give the zip code, and when you give a zip code, it will then return all the different recommendations that can be provided for all crops and for all the conditions in that zip code. And then, so for example, they can anticipate potato blight because of the weather conditions. And it's not just based on the weather condition today. It can also be based on the weather condition in the last 15 days. It has been this way. So that, and then there's a forecast in the next 7 days that it will be like this. So our forecast is that there will be possible potato blight. So that the farmers will be able to know how to address that. Another way to provide recommendations is also to give the recommendation, and then the API will return all the zip codes that are affected by these recommendations or where these recommendations will be triggered. So this is the project that was done with Yara. So the goal of Yara is to enable, again, smallholder farmers and also ensure that the farming practices is also sustainable by providing them recommendations. So when is it best to water your plants? What can you do to address possible issues with pests, because this is the weather condition and it is conducive for these pests. So those are the different recommendation or samples of recommendation triggers that are provided by Yara. So again, for this recommendation at scale, we provided weather forecasts together with agronomy information coming from the experts in Yara. This also factors in information about land and crops. And then this provides recommendations to farmers through the app of Yara, depending on their location in the map. Okay, so thank you very much. Those are the different sustainability projects that you were able to work on in the last year. And I hope that this inspires others to also do sustainable projects in different geographies so that we will be able to help smallholder farmers while also ensuring that our environment is protected. I am now open for questions. Thank you very much.